See, it's preparing to live stream the meeting. We think we're all ready. I have other users, right? I have my subscribers. Let's say we ended up, Dylan, setting something up, and now it's working. And now I thought it was working. Now it says video unavailable. So I have to research this. You see that? Try another version that all of a sudden video unavailable. This video is private. So what do we want to do? We have it already recorded. That's the beauty. I have it already recorded on Loom. I have it. I want to then copy this to a notepad, right? And that's what we do in class. I copy it and says video unavailable. This video is private. I go ahead, notice it even gave me a URL. And it's interesting, if I go to another URL and paste it, interesting to see what I get. I got that purple screen, preparing. And it says video live, right? So it is, do you see that? With this URL, it is, do you see that, Dylan? It looks like it is broadcasting. So it's, you see that each time? Funny, huh? So I have to check my channel, see why I got it. I get private, but it is working. You'll see even when I bring up my notepad, how I was documenting it. I thought I had a complete problem. Maybe I don't, who knows? So you can go back, which is interesting, to my Blackboard. If I say stop sharing, and I go to YouTube. Do you have YouTube up on the corner? Spencer, on the very top, do you have where it says live YouTube?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, it says live. Do you have the URL or anything? It says live. So it may be, it looks like this is working, but I have to find out why in the beginning does it say it's private and it's not working. So we'll have to see under my channel what the issue is. So I wanted to explain to you, Spencer, you see that you're not the only one. And Patrick, when you have issues, right? What do? We have to document it. And I have to, what we say, escalate it going up. Okay? And Ryan, Francisco, and Franco, your cameras. And Nicolette is our moderator. So if you have something special that you want to ask, Nicolette, please interrupt me at appropriate times and let me know what is not clear, what are the students' sentiment here, where we should proceed. Okay, so we're now ready to collaborate. And we had some assignments, so let me share my screen and do a couple of the assignments that we have. Notice, you see this? Unavailable, but look at this. Works fine. So go figure, huh? So let me go to my regular, all of you can go to your regular Zoom, your regular section, which in this case, Isabella, this section, what is your role?
In this section, we're teacher's assistants.
In regular BTE, this is not audit where I'm showing. You see it?
Oh, and in this section, we're students.
And students, look at that. You have the student role. You have the need to know to be a student. The need to know to be a student. When I make an assignment, the need to know is you need to do what? You need to be able to take the assignment, to take the quiz, to do Wiley Plus, and to do what? Check your grades. Isabella, of course, your need to know is your need to know other students' grades?
No, just my own.
No, just your own. But what's my need? To know all student grades for what? For my class, right? Isabella, I have no need to know, unless you decide to share with me, your grades on another class, right? It's almost those boundaries that we're setting. And in that need to know, we're always putting that in security here, that need to know is what IT roles are based upon. Have you ever worked before, Isabella? Had any job?
Yeah, I have.
What have you done?
I've worked in like the restaurant business. I've worked in offices.
Okay, offices, okay. And then there's a need to know. Is there a need to know to be able to get to your your paycheck? Of course. But is it need to know? We have now what we call Workday. We'll talk about it later on. Is an enterprise system that I can see my payroll. Do I have rights to edit my pay? You think, Isabella?
No, that would be like the employer, I think.
Right. That would be certain employers, right? I think I should have the right. I think I'm worth quadruple of what they're paying me, right? I think I'm just the best thing since sliced bread, right? So I have that need. And then we can think about the same thing with grades. You can see your grades, right? When they're posted, right? And I'll tell you a story. I was in another institution where I have people that are entrepreneurs. And what do they say about an entrepreneur? Isabella, what's your major? Remind me.
Marketing.
Marketing. So what they say is you want to go in marketing, you love to market, right? You love to deal, let's say, with people and so forth. So there was basically a student that decided his expertise was what? His expertise were IT. He knew the system and he worked within the administration. So he decided to have a business. And he's a student. And what are students always concerned about, do you think? Lena, what are students usually concerned about? After the semester is done, students sometimes come and they send me an email. What do they send me an email about? When grades are released, what do they send me? What do they usually tell me if I hear from a student?
They like want you to like adjust their grade or
Yeah. And do you think I've ever had in all the years that I've been teaching, do you think they ever asked me, you know what, Dr. Rush, you gave me an A and I really earned a C minus. I really didn't do anything. You think that ever happened to me in my life?
Probably not.
Probably not. No, it's always the other way. I don't understand why I didn't earn an A, right? I never get that. So it's the same thing. So this student, basically, he decided, and I'm telling you now that he got caught, he decided he knew that that's important for students' grades. He has access to the administration and he can then change grades for a fee. Lena, how does that sound? So how do you think he charged? You're in marketing. What's a good price? How do you charge?
I like honestly don't know.
I know, but well, guess. We all don't know. The only reason I know is because it was written in the paper afterwards. They didn't come to tell me.
Like a couple hundred or something.
Okay, based on what? So if somebody failed and they want to get an A, is that going to be the same price as somebody got a B and they want to get an A plus?
No.
So it's by grades.
Huh?
So my question to everyone is, how did he get caught? Because if I'm telling this story, this did not happen at this institution, by the way, another institution that I'm familiar with. So how did he get caught? Any ideas? What do you think, Dylan?
Did someone with a higher role see his activity?
Okay, it could be. But what we want to do, right, is in the systems, then what do we want to do? In the systems, what do we want to do? We want to have some kind of what we call audit trail that we can follow, right? We want that if I give a grade, right? I want to make sure that if I give a grade, I want to make sure that what? We can audit and see who entered the system. That's a good one. What other ideas do people have? Spencer, what do you think?
Sort of the same thing. I can't really think of
Okay.
anything else,
Any
but-
other ideas? How do you think Andrew David, how do you think he got caught? How do most people when they're greedy get caught?
He kept doing it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a lot of people keep on doing it, but who ends up getting caught? Why did they get caught?
I don't know.
I know. In greed, what happens? What do you think, Aiden?
Honestly, I'm not.
I know. Let's think about it, Aiden. I know everybody said honestly, we don't. The idea is when fraud is committed, usually it's committed kind of like what? Under the radar. When does fraud get usually caught?
If there's a paper trail.
One is the paper trail. One is if they get too greedy. What else?
Did like
When
file-
somebody cheats in the class, right? I bet. Has anyone ever seen in their life someone cheating?
Yeah, and that normally
And
gets
then
caught
what
if
can you do?
somebody
You can
runs their
keep
mouth.
quiet, right? And you said, listen, I don't want to be the what? Snitch. Or so how do you think he got caught?
Somebody ran their mouth.
Somebody look how he says it. He said, not that you would know, but somebody ran their mouth. And why did they run their mouth?
Because
What
they
was
get
the impetus?
scared.
Huh?
They get scared.
Yeah, but what was the thing? What is usually? It's on greed. Is he started raising his fees, right? If I charge you $100 per grade change, right, Aiden? And now I say, hey, it's $200. Then you say, oh, that's outrageous. So that's how he got caught. So basically, that idea of greed, a lot of times, you'll see a lot of my research in the past has been greed. I've looked at a lot of publicly traded companies. And what can I say is a lot of companies, let's say it, are a little shady, but they don't exaggerate. And a lot of the times when people exaggerate, that's kind of when people get greedy. And that's when it comes on. So this is that need to know of what it's based on is also where we're going to do it. So the idea here is in the audit area, so I can see here, if I look at it just to review, that if what's due, we know that next week we have TG2A software quiz. We have not next week, but on Wednesday, and TG2, the adaptive assignment, and the screencasting exercise. They're all due for Wednesday. Now, if I go to that section, this is the section. If I go to groups, right? And I look at the groups, let me make sure that we're into this, that in this group already here, the Zoom collaboration exercise, what I suggest is I was commending group 1 for how well they set up their system, that everybody should look at who attended the Zoom session, right? Is this correct, Andrew Wirtz, Franco, and Andrew Crumble? Are these the only 3 that attended?
Yeah, they're great. They attended.
Oh, okay, but these are the 3 that attended. The key points they learned, the challenges, the solutions. And then in the screencasting folder, the same thing would be who attended, but also on who attended in this way, I would put that each person that attended and what software they have chosen. It's not ready yet because it's due on Wednesday, but for this group, I want to commend them, but also put at this point in that editor of who attended, and across the lines of who attended is which software, screencasting software they used. And a short little bit about them. So other people, when they're saying, hey, I'm looking for a screencasting program or what it was, and then inside that screencasting folder, then they could see more in depth. And this one hasn't been done, right, Andrew? Works?
Correct.
Right. But here he would do the comparative, and here he would be doing the comparative what it would be, but here he would put in more detail of what they were using. And then Andrew has done a very nice job of showing his name, the program he used, the operating systems that it will work on, what supported file, how it's being stored, the costs, and then the pros, the cons. Beautiful. And then all he has to do is he kind of looks like, one thing I like about Andrew, it always makes sure he does his work early, gets it behind him, and then he can go back and improve it kind of with agile programming. So this was going to be due. And then if I go back to the regular, any questions on this? So, the other thing I wanted to show you, which I like, is on group 1, for instance, we have issues, right? When we have issues, we have opportunities to extend our issues. So in this case, for instance, if I look at this, anytime you submit something, put up above here what you've gone through. What did you do? What's the summary? So people can see already what is there. The same thing for Elliot here that I mentioned before that needs to put in. Notice Franco put in what is he gone through direct emission. Here's the group collaboration, and here it's utilizing, and then here Catherine. What I would do is I would just put all the groups together, you can even make that adjustment, put all the group work together, the individual group, and then put the individual assignments, put them separated. So it's kind of just organized, but excellent job. You can go back to, we just need to finish it. And if I go back to groups, you can see here in Nicolette's group, right? The same thing of the Zoom instructions, who attended, what were the learn, and just even here, which is nice, key points. What were the challenges? What were the solutions? Also, what's still not to be able to do? Just like mine is, why am I getting private video when I have the URL, it works. So I have to figure that out, and I have to come back. And then in Zoom instruction, what's nice is, and Nicolette, what she demonstrated, right? The Zoom exercise, and then the Fred. So I would just make sure. And what's nice here on that Fred Green is, on this is great. Put the date. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I'm calling it Nicolette's group just because she was listed as number 1. Is the date you submit here, you put that in. I'd even put in the time, because there may be another one. So you can see here, Fred had some other issues. So at 9:26. So go back. Now it doesn't take much, right? You just can go easy edit, put the date before that group exercise before, and that's good. Everybody's first name, last name, and their date. Excellent. So why is that important? Because later on, we're always, right, Nicolette, we're always going to have issues. And then you say, oh, look at my latest issue, or look at my latest Zoom, or I don't have to go through all of that Zoom recording. This is an issue I had. This is a new issue I had, or this is a way in which I resolved that issue. Same thing where I'm going to need to upload. Why did I get private video? And, but it really was streaming to YouTube. So I'll have to do research on it. Questions? Excellent. Okay, how are we doing, Josie? Perfect. So now what we need to do, if I look at what my assignments are, is that we have already 3 chapters. And where do we find the PowerPoints, Josie? In our regular section. How do I find PowerPoint?
Under the PPT and document section.
Good. And under where else? Under the folder called PPT 9th edition, right? And if you ever have Blackboard problems, guess what? I don't control Blackboard. Blackboard has a server. We have a Blackboard team. Here's the phone number. You ever have Wiley Plush issues? Guess what? It's usually the server. Here's you can live chat with support there. 9th edition. And we've already gone over chapter 1, TG1, and TG2. Now, under my PowerPoint, under TG1, Josie, is I have two issues here with TG1. They say here they want me to identify major hardware components and discuss and describe the functioning of the central processing unit. So I have something called the central processing unit. And I have something called primary storage and secondary storage. So you have any idea what's the difference and who cares, Josie?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we're not sure. So we'll work together, Josie. Can we be a team? Are you okay
Yeah.
with me being a team? Okay. So we have you heard of Chat GPT, Josie?
Yeah.
And there's something called Bard. You heard of that before? Google has
No,
you have or have not?
no, I haven't.
Okay, so there's something also, Google wants to get in the act, and Google has something called Google Bard. So what I have here, if I go to bard.google.com, type it in, Josie, it's very similar to ChatGPT. And then there's something else that I would like you to look at, Josie, is something called Call Annie. Do we have any Annies here? .ai. Josie, you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you think I can reach Annie?
On my end, it says that you could get the app or you could call the phone
Okay.
number.
So those of you for an assignment, those of you that have iOS 12 or higher, it'd be interesting for you to download Annie on your phone. And what we'll use with Annie is see the difference of generative AI or Chat GPT on a voice end versus a text end, and see where the systems are going. And also, Josie, as to have these Chat GPTs and these Annies and all these others be our assistants. So Annie, basically, Josie, when I call Annie, I want Annie to help us. How does that sound, Josie?
Good.
Okay, so Annie's going to be part of our team. So let me call her. Let me do this. I think I have her ready. So let me just see. Let me just call her. Let's see if she works.
Good to see you again. How is it going?
Hi, Annie. This is Dr. Rush, and I'm with Josie and my class, and we're trying to learn about hardware.
Hey, Dr. Rush. It's great to hear from you again. How's the class going? Learning about hardware sounds interesting. What specific aspect of hardware are you and Josie focusing on today?
Josie and I and the class are trying to figure out what's the difference between primary storage and secondary storage.
Ah, I see. Primary storage and secondary storage are two different types of memory in a computer system. Primary storage, also known as main memory or RAM random access memory, is the temporary storage area where the computer stores data that it is actively using. It's like the computer's short-term memory. It's super fast, but it's also volatile, meaning that the data is lost when the computer is powered off. On the other hand, secondary storage refers to devices like hard drives, solid-state drives, or external storage devices. They provide long-term storage for your files, programs, and operating system. Unlike primary storage, secondary storage is non-volatile, which means that the data remains even when the computer is turned off. So in a nutshell, primary storage (RAM) is like the computer's quick access memory for temporary data, while secondary storage hard drives is where you store your files for the long term. Hope that helps clarify things for you and Josie. Any other questions you have about hardware?
Let me ask Josie. Josie, does that clarify it?
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad I could help clarify things for you, Josie. Is there anything else you and Dr. Rush would like to know about hardware, or is there another topic you'd like to explore? I'm here to chat about anything you're interested in.
The other thing that I would like you to do, Annie, is help us understand that every person in the class will be able to know how much RAM do they have
I see.
on
You're
their
wondering how this
computer,
person
on
in
their
the class can find
computer,
out how much.
on their computer. And let's say if they have a Mac, how do they find out how much RAM they have on their computer?
Got it. If someone in your class is using a Mac and wants to find out how much RAM they have on their computer, they can follow these steps. 1. Click on the Apple menu in the top left corner of the screen. 2. From the drop-down menu, select about this Mac. 3. A window will appear with an overview of the Mac system information. 4. In the window that appears, they can click on the Memory tab. 5. They will see the total amount of RAM memory listed there. That said, by following these steps, they should be able to find out how much RAM they have on their Mac. If you or anyone in your class has any more questions or needs further assistance, feel free to ask.
Okay, let me ask the class. Any other questions for Annie? Josie, how'd she do?
Good.
Hey
Okay,
there, class.
okay, so I'm gonna hang up for now. So when I hang up, which is interesting, is I can go, do you see this on the top of my screen? Nicolette, do you see where it says my calls? It gives me then all the calls that I had with Annie. And now if I want to go to the 403, do you see this? If I go back up, and you see this, Josie, is I have then my entire chat with Annie. Do you see that, Nicolette? What do you think?
Yes,
What do you think about it?
that's pretty cool. And it's good that you can read back through it as well.
Yeah, because it's hard to come up with it. This way, also, you know, you can record it, right, Nicolette? You can record it, but you also have it here that you can put it in and you can paste it through. So what I'd like you to do for the class is these are one question that I have, and you can find, and you could Google these answers as well, right? Just as well, or you can do Chat GPT or Bard, or even you can get Bard to speak and then Bard to speak to Annie and see, and they could have a conversation. You could have one chat bot talking to another bot. So what would be interesting here is that Josie and everyone else, Colin, is to tell me on Wednesday is how much RAM do you have on your computer, on your laptop? And the other one, and RAM is primary or secondary storage, Colin?
What was that?
Is RAM primary or secondary storage?
Primary.
Primary, because it's the main one. And secondary storage is like what? Like a hard drive? It's going to be an SSD drive. So how large, or what's the size? Let me put that. What's the size of your secondary storage. Sometimes it will just be storage in your computer. And if we are not right, and if you don't know how to get to it, what's an easy way to do, Dylan, is you just can ask Annie and you can ask the other ones. And it's interesting to see what are the differences between the two. And you have to, why I like to show both is a lot of times these programs are still in their infancy and make mistakes. But it's pretty neat when you start thinking about the conversations that you can have, and then you can start asking Annie, and there's a lot of these assistants out there. Annie is the one I like because it's really like a conversation, like calling up someone and speaking to them. The others are more in text. So the difference is now, Dylan, is that thing of primary and secondary. We have to differentiate not only what is the definition, where she was telling me, Annie, right? Then random access area is temporary storage. Where do I use random access? Who cares? Right, Lena? You're so comfortable. Who cares about this random access memory? When do I use it? Dylan, when do I use it?
Maybe it's to store like documents or files that
Okay.
you created.
All right. As a data analytics major, Dylan, this is a great way in which you're going to prepare for an internship interview. You need to know this. Okay, Dylan? You with me?
Yep.
And this is for everyone. Random access memory is where the programs are stored when you actually use the program. Let me say it again, Isabella. Random access memory is used when you're actually using a program. So for instance, if I'm using PowerPoint, let's go back to the PowerPoint slide. And where is the TG? It's TG, I guess, TG1, right? When we're talking about this primary storage, basically it's like this. If I use PowerPoint, let's say, is stored on my machine, it's stored on my secondary storage. When you download my PowerPoints, right, from the web, you download it to your secondary storage. It gets downloaded to your secondary storage, let's say to your hard drive. You with me, Aiden? PowerPoint gets downloaded here. When I click on that PowerPoint and I want it to appear on the screen, it gets moved to where, Aiden?
The RAM to
The RAM,
primary storage.
primary storage. And it's going to be, RAM is very quick. It can process quickly. And for instance, Word, Excel, all of my Office suite is being used in primary storage. When I save it, where does it get saved to? Aiden?
Secondary storage.
Secondary storage. Perfect. So on my machine or on my computer, everybody can make note of it. Andrew, David, you can make note of it. My primary storage is more expensive, but works much faster, and I have less of it than I usually have in secondary storage. Primary storage is called volatile, meaning when I shut down my computer, it gets removed from my primary storage. But a lot of the software programs, have you ever seen it do, like Andrew, David, how you can do, like, it will automatically save every couple of minutes?
Yeah.
It saves it to secondary storage so you don't lose your work. So if we get an outage or something happens, you know, this way, if it doesn't keep on saving, those last updates sometimes don't get updated. That's why it's important when we want to work. And later on, Andrew, David, what's your major again?
Finance.
When we work with a lot of financial models, what are we doing? We're working with what, Andrew? We're working with what? A lot of data, of course. And where do we want? Do you think we want to have little RAM or a lot of RAM?
A lot.
The most that we can afford. And sometimes what we'll even do is go to the cloud service and get more, and you do the processing on the cloud on somebody else's computer because we need so much RAM. But even if we're working in the cloud, somewhere there's this primary storage called memory. A lot of people get these two confused, and then they'll ask somebody, how much memory do they have? A lot of times they'll think about how big is my hard drive. So what I want you to do for Wednesday, and you can just jot it down where you put exactly next to where you put your names, is how much RAM do you have? And how much secondary storage you have. Because some software programs, if they don't have enough main memory, they do what they call almost caching. They almost allow them to take only part of the program, bring it into main memory, and then when I need the second part, it brings it in again. And notice here, Gabriel, you look at my PowerPoint here, Gabriel. You see secondary storage, it has two arrows, one coming up, one coming down. If I gave this to you on a test, why are there two arrows and not only just one? Why are they pointing two different ways?
Because they both use each other.
Yes, because when I first started out PowerPoint, what did I do? The computer took it from secondary storage and brought it into main memory. When it saves it, where does it save it to? It takes it from primary storages and saves it to secondary storage. Does that make sense, Nicolette? We don't even pay attention when we're using our computer. When I'm using PowerPoint, I don't pay attention to that. But sometimes when we're going to be doing heavy duty processing and all of a sudden you ever seen the computer being very slow, or at that times it's going to be some computers, it will take 2 hours to process something and another computer will take 10 minutes. Why? Usually it's because of this, it has more primary storage. Everybody, did that help, Nicolette?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
And when we're going through this and the same types of questions you have, what's nice is to turn to something like Annie and ask, and then you can even do Bard, Google, or ChatGPT, see what the differences are. And I like something like Annie to look at my calls and then I can read through it again. And then if I'm not clear about it, ask Annie again, prompt her again. I'm really not sure about this. Is this correct? That's what I'd like to do about it. And what I see, Lena, is that we all will have assistance. In the next couple of years, our work will be, if you're going to be employing Lena, you'll have your own Annie. Maybe you'll call it Joey, but we'll all have whatever name it is. It will work with us and basically make us more efficient. And if we don't have it, other people, guess what, Lena, will be more efficient than you. So it's not my guess, even though everybody's afraid of that AI, right? And what's it going to help? And we can definitely talk about, how much it's going to take over the world and everything. What I'm saying is let's figure out how to work with it. And not to, Josie, not to cheat. When somebody's asking you to, when we're going to be doing our test, guess what? We're doing on our test in the lab, physically, where we'll be together. So maybe we can prepare with Annie, but we'll need to do our own work. But later on, and then what we'll be doing, Josie, is trying to look with our natural intelligence and trying to figure out why things don't work. But our main goal is what? Get closer to my customer, or is it going to be to increase revenues, or is it going to be my marketing campaign, or is it going to be how can I make my presentation more exciting? And these are the ways that we're working it. So this right here is very important. And when we talk about then that CPU is my control processor, the CPU is another one that if I ask then, I could then ask Annie or anyone, what's the next question could be for Wednesday is how does the CPE work? But I can think about the CPU is right here, this box here, but look at this. It's primary storage, that's the memory. And this is kind of like the brains of the computer. And guess what it has in it? It has instructions. The computer in this case is just going to be instructions. And then it's somehow going to go into the arithmetic logic unit, which is what? Adding and subtracting. It's going to do the combinations. And guess what number 4 says here? Do you see this, Lena? What does 4 say?
Store.
Stores. It first stores it where? It first stores it in primary storage. And then it stores it when I want to finish my project or finish my day. Then it gets stored to where? Lily, where does it get stored? It first stores it to primary storage, and then when I want to leave and I want to save my work, where does it get stored to? From main memory to where?
Secondary.
Secondary. Beautiful. And then what is volatile? If they say it's non-volatile, primary storage or secondary storage, we got to figure out what non-volatile means. Non-volatile means it stays there. It's more or less permanent. When I shut down my computer, it will remain. So what is non-volatile? Primary storage or secondary storage?
Secondary.
Secondary. It's easy when you know it, right? And that's what I want you to do, is to know it and to know why. And that's the key, Isabella, not just to say CPU stands for central processing unit, but why it is. And what I need here is the larger this is the inputs. And now with AI, these have to be much more sophisticated and much larger. There's a company called NVIDIA. Anybody hear about that, Colin? Did you hear about that company?
No.
Let's type it in. You can type it in just like I can, right? NVIDIA, it's a stock company, right? Here's the overview. And notice if I go in the last year to date, what, Colin, what does the stock look like? It's doing up or down? The trend? Up. Why? They are a chip manufacturer. And guess what they build into their chips? AI. They're really the leader, because guess what? Have you ever heard of all that generative AI? Has that made news to you, Colin? That's basically companies that are investing in AI are doing well. Why? They need a lot of computing resources to do what? To basically, did you see how quick Annie was responding? When I called Annie, did you see how quickly she responded? She responded. So, and did you see how quickly she typed all this? I can't type that fast. Hi, Josie. I hope my explanation clarified, right? The other thing, what would you like me to do, right? All of that random access memory needs what? Computing power. Needs what? A large CPU. It needs what? A lot of RAM. It needs what? A lot of storage. So that is the key. The other part that's important, the other chapter, when I did it, is that second chapter. And that second chapter, if I end up looking at that, Ryan, so everything worked out well, Ryan, when you uploaded. I saw that you uploaded twice. It looked like everything worked out. Yes?
Yeah.
Good. So on the second chapter, which is TG2, which is on software, the key here is on software programming is we have two types of software. We have hardware in the middle, and then we have something called system software, and then we have something called applications software. So the question then becomes, Ryan, what's the difference between the operating system, right? The system software and the application software. Sometimes we call the system software, sometimes we call it the operating system. So what's the difference and who cares? You got any ideas, Ryan?
I really don't know the difference.
Okay. Hi, Annie. This is Dr. Rush. I'm here with Ryan and the class, and we're trying to figure out what's the difference between an operating system and an application software. Can you help us understand that?
Hey, Dr. Rush and Ryan. Absolutely, I'd be happy to help you all understand the difference between an operating system and application software. Think of an operating system as the boss of your computer. It's like the big cheese that manages all the hardware and software on your machine. It provides a platform for other programs to run on and helps you interact with your computer. Examples of operating systems are Windows, macOS, and Linux. On the other hand, application software refers to specific programs that you use to perform tasks or get things done. These can be things like word processors, web browsers, video editors, or even games. Application software runs on top of the operating system and relies on it to function properly. So to put it simply, the operating system is the foundation that your computer needs to operate, while application software are the programs you use to do specific tasks. Does that make sense? Let me know if you have any more questions or if there's anything else I can help with.
Does that help, Ryan?
Yes, that does help.
So what do you think? So if I looked at my calls, which is nice at 4:25, she's saying, absolutely, I'd be happy to do that. And think of the operating system as the boss of your computer. It's like the big cheese, she's saying. And what are examples then? What computer are you running on right now, Ryan?
My MacBook.
Your MacBook. What operating system does it have?
A chip, I think.
Okay, so your next assignment, and everybody's assignment is, besides how much RAM you have, next time when I call on you next time, is you have to find out what is your operating system. The name and version. Now you have what is your operating system on your laptop or your and the other one is what is your operating system on your phone. What phone do you have, Ryan?
The iPhone 14.
Okay, so you have to find out. You have iPhone 14. Find out what is your operating system on your phone. And you know what would be nice, Ryan, is Annie runs on the iPhone 12 and above. So when you go to, on your phone, when you go to Annie, you can see, you can run her on the phone, and then you'll actually see a picture of Annie. And notice Annie also has a phone number of call Sam. She used to be called Samantha. They changed her name to Annie.
Yeah, it says that like the operating system for iPhone is iOS.
Yeah, and you just need the version. That's all. Perfect. So you need to know the name and the version.
Is that what like the software update is?
Yeah. Mhm. Sometimes.
I-
Sometimes they'll even keep that same operating system and they'll find updates. They'll do like errors or bugs or something like that, make it faster. And sometimes updates are actually changing the version. Sometimes updates are just for minor little changes, and sometimes it's the new one. Next week, iPhone's coming out with another version. You know that? Right. We'll see what that looks like. So they're all the time. And you'll see in the book, Ryan, they always talk about hardware going down in price, you know, laptops, other things, you know, even hardware when you think about TV screens. But one thing doesn't go down in price is what in hardware? It's iPhones. Next version, even though their camera probably will be better, their processing, their CPU, their operating system will be faster. They're able, since they have that market share and people are willing to pay, they'll raise their prices. So it's almost in a marketing sense when everyone else is and other types of things and laptops and things that you can get, they're reducing the prices in iPhones that aren't. So this is the key. Now, when you go through it, what it's even nice, let me just even do this. You know, when we did Wiley Plus, let's go to hardware. You know, this was the hardware adaptive assignment. This is flashcards, by the way. You can do flashcards. Let's see how this works. For each of these, and let's say we want to do for hardware here, right? I can then do my hardware here each time. And I can submit, and you can do a flashcard. I can go cards, right? And it says prediction here every 2 years, Moore's law, predictions. I can do cards. I can do terms, right? That it can give me terms. I can do definitions, predictions I can write. And also you basically can do with Annie or any of these chat GPTs, I can do a quiz. Here's some quizzes. The part of primary storage that holds a software program and small amounts of data when they are brought from secondary storage, right? And then I just basically, the part of primary storage, what's it called? Is it laptop, SSD, virtual reality, or RAM? What do you think, Spencer? The part of primary storage that holds a software program and small amounts of data when they're brought from secondary storage.
RAM.
RAM. So you can see here that I can do that even RAM here, and then I can go to the next one and you can do quizzes. But you can do it even with the help of these with Annie. And what I wanted us to do is look at some of these to evaluate them, to see how they can get better, to see where they're appropriate, where they're not appropriate, what needs to be added. So let me share, stop sharing. So what did you learn today, Lena? Yeah, summarize.
Like the difference between like primary and secondary storage.
Mm-hmm. And what about operating systems? What's the difference between that applications operating system, application programs, and an operating system? What's the difference?
Well, like the operating system being like what like the computer runs on, like iOS or like Windows.
Exactly. Yeah. It's basically the whole idea of that operating system. Anytime you use a device, whether you use a phone, you use a laptop, you use a computer, it has an operating system, meaning that it needs to join all the systems together. It's kind of the foundation. You know, whenever you're going to save a file, whenever you're going to be able to bring up a file, that's all done by the operating system. But the application programs are the things that you're using every day to actually apply it to. And why do we care? The reason is, I was asking Dylan, take Annie and let's Annie be one of the members of our class. So when we show everybody, Lena, wouldn't it be nice? Let's have Annie. She'll be our assistant, you know, our teaching assistant. Wouldn't that be cool? Try it out. Why not? Let's have some fun. You know, what are we out here for? But not to have a good time. That's my idea. You know, life is too short not to be happy. So if we want to do that, so guess what? And what do we need? Annie doesn't run on the phone. She doesn't run on an Android. What's an Android? Lena, right away, it's another operating system, right? Have you ever heard somebody, not too many people have phones, you know, like 95% of people under 22 have, 95 have iPhones. It's rare, you know, in other parts of the world, maybe they have Android. Sometimes they have it because it's just cheaper. You know, some people can't even afford it. But otherwise, people are using that. And so the question is, she only runs, and I'm calling her a she like she's a human, right? And that's almost gets creepy, right, Lena? That you start talking to, I'm using the word she, right? And I say, okay, Dylan, go download it. And guess what? What did you say, Dylan?
It said my phone wasn't like, it didn't have a new iOS.
Right, perfect. Right now we can speak in, Dylan, right, when we're going to go to an interview, we really start sounding much more articulate, right? That his phone doesn't have the iOS 12 or higher. So so that's why it's important a lot of times, because what they create, why do you think that? Dylan, now thinking about it, Annie requires even more resources than a chat GPT, because what she needs to have besides having her voice, she needs to process quickly, right? And on the phone, and there's also video involved. So it needs, every time they update an iOS, what do you think they do? They make it faster. That CPU is stronger, right? That RAM is larger, right, Lena? Now we understand the purposes of it. And then we can have external storage, where a lot of times our external storage can be like iDrive, right? Or it can be anywhere else, but it can be also on part of the computer too, part of the phone. So this is what's kind of interesting for the class. That would be interesting for you is to even try out, Lena, with your group. It'd be a fun exercise is that you download it, then do a Zoom session and have Annie log on with also your phone to the Zoom session and have Annie there. And then you can talk to Annie and say, hey, Annie, help us out here. And you could even be on mute. And then when I call on people, right, you're listening. First of all, let me ask my, you know, like my lifeline, Annie, to help us. Because you remember how I always say, when I always ask you a question off the spot and people say, oh my God, she's asking, how am I supposed to know that? Right? You aren't. But the idea is to think, let me get assistance. Because we all need assistance. We all need help in our life. But it's the idea that we're working together and we're above board, that we're not saying in this case, now we can start making sense of it. And sometimes they can't help us. Okay. So let me know what you think about it. But I think that would be interesting, is to have everyone across in their name. It's good to see is almost what their phone iOS is, right? So we'll be able to know it. And then those that don't have the proper phone can use what, Dylan? You can even be on another side of it and asking Annie a question on the phone side on the way. And then you also can see what are the differences between the web version versus the iPhone version? Are there any advantages? Do you get those calls? Because I think, like everybody said, the calls were really invaluable, weren't they? That you actually got to see it in print, and then you can copy it and paste it. Then you could put all that copy and paste, you could put it to Bard. And be interesting, Dylan, to have Bard, instead of me speaking, have Bard speak and Annie, and say to Annie, listen to this. What do you think? And then she would say whether see how each one explains it differently. They're each using a separate language model. And you see that they're going to get better and better. Now they're rudimentary, but still they're amazing. It's incredible. I don't see how, and you don't have to be in that end. You don't have to be a program. But what I want to do in my research, and I'll tell you on Wednesday, is next week I'm giving a talk. Next Tuesday, I'm giving a talk in Miami-Dade College downtown. And my talk will be AI chatbots. And I'm going to show Annie and other things. I'm working for the city of Coral Gables to make them a smarter city. So I'm working with them and helping them. So I'm going to do an hour chat. So it's like $1,000 or something to get in. But what I'll do remind me on Wednesday, I'll get you all free tickets that you can be my guest. So you can, if you have time, you can see me. Plus you can meet all these other folks around the world. Okay, so let's do, let me share the screen, take attendance. Hopefully you can give me feedback on this, what you thought. Let's go up here. I need to go to attendance. And what do I need to do? I have to check and see how it's circling there. There are a number of reasons why. I have to start checking. 1283, 1283. 1283 is your attendance. I'll stay with you if you have additional questions. And I appreciate everybody that participated. Nicolette, was there anything on the chat I needed to know about?
Nothing.
Okay, good. But at least we have you there. Thank you, everybody that participated that I called on. Kind of, you realize, Gabriel, now you got Annie here to help you out.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Okay. What else? Anything else? Isabel, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, actually. So last week we were talking about how, like, if we couldn't figure out how to do YouTube Live, like some things that you could
Right.
try.
Yeah.
So before that class, like before it was due, I recorded like all of my errors that I was having and everything, like because we were emailing back and forth.
Yeah.
But then over the weekend, like I tried to redo it, but I'm still getting the same error. Like,
Fine.
and I waited 24 hours. I changed the settings.
So you basically, if you've done all that and you document, you put it up there.
Okay.
There's no problem.
Like,
some things don't work. Did you see that on my YouTube? All of a sudden,
yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's crazy, isn't it? When I look at what was it? This looks great, right? And then when I look at this one, video unavailable. The same URL. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So I got to figure that out. So what do?
Okay.
I document it. I'll get credit because we did it in time. We didn't wait to the last moment. Some people, Isabella, that morning signed out. You weren't one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
You attempted and things don't, look at that, things don't work.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And that's it. And we shouldn't get punished for that. You know what I mean? We should just get even rewarded that we're trying to find out. And you know what? Try it again or try another account sometime throughout the semester, even see what it is. And it may not, and we're not going to get too overly excited. Sometimes it's not going to work.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to like make sure that was okay.
Yes.
And, like,
yeah. We can't do anything else. You know what I mean? You can't bang, and you don't want to bang your head. You know what I mean? I can bang my head 100 times and I'm getting this. am I controlling this? This is what, you remember we were talking about servers? This is YouTube's operating system. And notice it's still going here.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
It's not working. Yeah, I get it.
But, and I need to figure this out. And it may take me a whole semester to find out, you know, I'll have to go to other places, and YouTube doesn't have like a store I can go to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to search it, you know, I say, oh, call the help desk, you know what I mean? They could, those guys, even
Yeah.
if I call Blackboard or even if I called Zoom, right? Zoom says, well, that's YouTube's fault, you know, and YouTube will say, well, that's Zoom's fault.
Yeah.
But what you're going to do if you're going to be then that manager is about, you want your people that work for you to at least to have documented it so you can go to someone who's more, that has more authority to figure it out. Because if you just say, hey, it didn't work, well, let me see. Hey, look at this. In the same setting, this says video unavailable. Look at the URL, and they're going to say, let's see if we can produce this again. This problem.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you for, it's the opposite. You should get extra credit for participating, you know, to reaching out, trying to find the problem. That's what this class is about. It's not even to know that answer, but figuring out how to be more sophisticated on how to document it. That's why we're doing the screencasting. That's why we figure out all the things in Zoom. Now you know how to do it, and you'll demand it from people that'll work underneath you.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than saying, hey, it didn't work.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And keep up the great work and the good attitude. That's the main thing.
Thank you. I'll see you in class on Friday. I
On
mean on Wednesday. Wednesday, not Friday, sorry.
And remind me, do you have class on Tuesday afternoon?
Yes. I have like a big break in between, but yeah.
Like at what time?
I'm free from like 9:15 to like 3.
Okay, yeah, that'll be hard because you can even come for a little bit on Tuesday if you can. Remind me, I'll send a email out to everybody.
Okay.
For the tickets, and if not, we'll record it on Zoom, and I'll try to do a YouTube live. I'm not sure it's gonna work, huh?
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day, Dr. Rush.
Yeah, you too.
Thank
Keep it up.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. So stop sharing. And